welcome back to Cooking with Shockey. Today we are going to be doing a whole pork butt bone-in on the offset smoker. Today I'm going to be using mustard for a binder. I'm going to be using my own barbecue sweet rub. I'll link the description for my recipe for that rub. And we're going to be trimming this down with my Shanzu chef's knife. So first thing about pork butt, it really doesn't require a whole lot of trimming. So what I'm going to do is I have the fat cap up here. The pork shoulder it's got a ton of different muscles in it, a lot of connective tissue, but we don't have to do a lot of trimming on the outside. What I just want to do is take this this fat cap down just a little bit and shave it off here so that we can get our binder on and apply our rub. So I'm just going to go ahead and start, and we're just going to take off this top layer of fat. So not a whole lot, just getting that hard fat that's not going to render out for us. And then sometimes on the pork butt you can have some flaps that don't necessarily, you want those to render, or you want those to render, but you don't want to burn anything, so we may take some of the flaps off. And again, make sure you got a really sharp knife. It just makes your job a whole lot easier and safer. We're going to take this hard fat off here. And that hard, kind of pillowy fat is what we're looking at removing.
That's yucky.
That's yucky. Evidently my 3-year-old doesn't like the hard fat either. All right, so that looks pretty good to me for the top side. Then those flaps I was talking about, something like that, anything like that that's hanging off your brisket or your pulled pork or anything like that, that's just gonna burn. So we're gonna go ahead and take that off just to make sure we have a nice smooth outer surface. Nobody likes those big globs of fat that you wind up with in your pulled pork if you don't take that off. All right, so that's about it. Looking pretty good on top. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to get this mustard binder on and apply our sweet rub. So we'll be right back with you. Okay, now that we got this pork butt nice and trimmed up, we're going to start with the meat side first, but we're going to apply a slather. So I'm going to use regular French's yellow mustard as a binder here for our rub to adhere. Now mustard, when you're using that as a binder, this stuff is like super glue. You don't need to go super heavy in order for your rub to stick. So we're just gonna apply a little bit to our bottom side here, and we're gonna get the sides to make sure that our rub tacks on there nice. All right, now we're gonna be using my sweet rub today. Link in the description below. Got a nice liberal coat. Will do nicely. Make sure you get your sides. pat that rub in. Now our presentation side is going to be the side that you're seeing right now, that fat cap side. But that mustard is going to help us stick this rub to the pork butt. Now this rub is predominantly brown sugar. That's the base. There's also some kosher salt, some pepper, some paprika, a little bit of garlic, thyme. So it's going to be a nice, sweet and smoky rub for our pork butt. Right. So now we just got the presentation side left, and with a little more of our binder here. That should be plenty for this top presentation side. My board's sliding around on me. All right. Now this is a big cut of meat, so it can take quite a bit of seasoning. And pork is a relatively bland meat, so I want to make sure I get a good, nice, heavy coat of rub on the outside, especially on the presentation side, as we're going to be cooking fat up on our offset Old Country Brazos pit today. All right, so that looks good. Perfectly rubbed butt. All right, now that we're all rubbed up, I'm going to let this butt go ahead and sweat a little bit, absorb some of that salt and seasoning while we get our pit up to temperature. We're cooking the Old Country Brazos offset today. So I have the fire already started. We're gonna let that come up to temperature. We're gonna be cooking at about 275 degrees for this pork butt today. Okay, so now we got our pit up to temperature. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get this pork butt on. As you can see, the butt has sweat pretty profusely. All the juices you can see that are coming out, the salt pulling the moisture out of the meat. So we're gonna go ahead and get this on. Fat cap side up, and we are cooking on this offset today with post oak and hickory. Presentation side up. Ooh, I smudged that a little bit. I might have to touch that up. That should be everything. All right. Roll it away at about 275.
Okay, let's go.
All right, so with respect to fire management, I'm trying to cook at 275. I'm starting to slip temps, so I'll show you what I kind of do. It's a cyclical idea. So what I do is I open this door up, and you can see how I was cooking here with that baffle down. What I do is I make sure that my coals are burnt down pretty well. You can see I got a very, very robust coal bed here. Right, I make sure my coal bed's good to go. I grab my wood that's on deck, and I make sure I got a nice, ooh, that didn't work out. I make sure that I got a nice open area underneath there until that catches. So once that does catch and it starts producing heat for me, then I'll go ahead and I'll shut this all down, and then I'll maintain temperatures here. I found that on the Brazos, this amount of baffle opening gives me the best airflow through to maintain temperatures at 275. And you can see I'm burning pretty clean out of the stack right now. So this is how I do my fire management. Okay, so it's been about 3 hours. We're gonna check on this pork butt. I have not opened this lid at all since I've put this pork butt on. 3 hours in, let's see. Beautiful. Look at that bark. Coming in nicely. Fat starting to split on the top. Not drying out though, too bad. I thought I was gonna have to spritz at this point, but we look really, really good. Water's still good in the water pan, and that bark is looking incredible. I think what I'll do is probably just rotate it 180 degrees since my firebox is down here, so you can see where the grate is discolored. That's where my hottest point is. So that's why I cook over here. But yeah, no, really happy with that. Great color. So we're gonna let that continue to go until we get a nice dark bark on there, so that when we do pull this pork butt apart, we have that great dark bark that we can mix in with the pulled pork to create some great sandwiches. Yeah, really happy with that. All right, we're still rolling around 275, and we've been cooking for about 4 hours now. So let's take a peek here. Beautiful. All right, so I love the bark that I see on this. Again, you see that fat cap starting to split and the fat starting to yellow on top here. I got splits around the side. That's exactly what I'm looking to see. You can see that blade bone. That's actually the shoulder blade bone that we're gonna pull out later, and that'll tell us whether or not we did a good job as far as tenderness is concerned. So, let's take a look at the internal temperature at the moment. Sitting at around 140, yeah, 141, 142. All right, so we still got a little ways to go before we go ahead and wrap this, but it's looking really good. Bark is set. There goes my ThermoPro alarm. Bark is set really, really nice. Nothing's coming off, right? It's just a little grease, but no rub is coming off of there. Really, really happy with this. Again, water pan's still rolling pretty good, and we're still gonna keep pushing through this stall. So right now we're still in the stall. We're gonna push through until we reach about 265, 270 internal, at which point we're gonna wrap. This is gonna be a pineapple glazed pulled pork. So we're gonna actually use some rib candy pineapple glaze, and that's gonna take us over the top with this one wrapped in foil. So we'll see this one back again in about another hour, see if we need to spritz if anything's burning. Again, I did rotate that pork butt 180 degrees from the last time you saw it. I'll probably go ahead and rotate it again each hour when I go ahead and check on it, but we'll be back. All right, we're about 5 hours, about 5.5 hours actually into this cook at this point, and look at that. Beautiful bark, fat split wide open. That's exactly what we're looking for. So now that that bark is set just the way I want it to, that fat, look at that. As soon as I push on it, it's oozing juice. That is probably ready to wrap. Let's check internal temperatures and see how we're doing. And that'll tell us for sure. Oh yeah. Yeah, we're ready to go. 171, we're good to go. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this in a foil boat, and we're gonna get our pineapple glaze on this thing. So sit tight. Okay, now that this pork butt is off the pit, we're actually gonna glaze it, wrap it, and put it in the oven to save on fuel. We don't wanna burn as many logs as we possibly can. We could put this back on the offset smoker, but it's just so much simpler and easier to just go ahead and put it in the oven, because once we wrap this, we're not looking for more smoke flavor, we're just looking to get it tender. So, like I said before, this is gonna be a pineapple glazed pork butt. So we got some pineapple rib candy that we're gonna use. This is great on ribs as well, but it's just as good with pork. So my assistant Cam here is gonna glaze this. We're gonna pour it straight over the top. Don't be scared, just go ahead and pour it. There you go. All over the top. There we go. Straight down the middle. Good, 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 good. All right. Great pineapple glaze on there. And then we're gonna use the rest of this bottle. So go ahead and pour the rest of that bottle. This is some Goldie's barbecue sauce. It's gonna give us a nice barbecue flavor on there as well. Whole bottle straight over the top. Yum. And this is a vinegar and mustard based sauce. Goes great with some Carolina style pork. All right, so all we're gonna do is go ahead and temp this in foil. Again, we've been cooking at 275 up to this point. We're gonna bump temps up to 300 in the oven. Nice and tended like this. And we're gonna be shooting for an internal temperature of somewhere around 200 degrees, but really we're looking for probe tenderness, so we'll probe this in about a couple hours, but we'll look at 300 degrees in the oven, just like this, and we'll be back with you. All right, and welcome back. We're done. Just came out of the oven. This thing is still screaming hot, but look at that. So we got our pineapple glaze on there, our barbecue sauce. Our bark is still nice and set. It's super, super tender. We're probe temping at about 203, 204 with our Thermopin, and it just feels nice and loose. Now that blade bone is still in there, so I'm gonna show you what that looks like. That's kind of our thermometer without using a thermometer, right? Tell me it's done without telling me it's done. Look at that. When that blade bone comes out clean like that, you know that pork butt is tender. So we're gonna go ahead and set that aside. And now with this pork butt, all we gotta do, I got double layered gloves on because this thing is screaming hot, but we're just gonna pull this apart. And man, look at that. Let's see if I can find the money muscle for you. Should be around here. Oh, it fell apart. But I mean, look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Pieces of bark will get shredded up in there. We'll mix those all together. But man, it's got a great smoke ring. You can see the coloration on the tubes there. There's part of that money muscle right there. Beautiful pulled pork. Cam, you want to come try this? It's super hot. Let's see what you think.
Oh.
Is it really, really hot?
Yeah.
What you think?
Let's go.
Good? All right. Well, that's how you do pineapple glazed pulled pork. We'll see you next time.